like to sit on a translation committee and the kinds of things that we do. And if I can explain it in a couple of minutes, then you're going to get a good feeling for why translations are different and why you can trust the one that you have. The basic, most fundamental question that all translation teams have to make is, am I going to err on the side of words or meaning? That's the fundamental question. And every translation has a philosophy, whether it's expressed or not, or whether it's written down or not. I mean, everyone has a translation philosophy. In fact, when I came over the NIV, it took me quite a bit of time to get the ESV out of my head and get the NIV way of thinking into my head, because my job as a translator is not to translate the way I think it should be done, but my job is to be consistent with the translation philosophy. And again, that gets back to when you're sitting there looking at a verse and you're trying to translate it, and you're having trouble saying the same thing in English. And we all want to do the same thing. Every translation wants to say the same thing in English that's being said in Greek. But you come to a point where you have to decide, am I going to fall to the side of I'm just going to repeat the words and perhaps the Greek structure and the Hebrew structure and maybe leave it ambiguous? Or am I going to fall on the side of meaning and convey the meaning? Now, the interesting thing is, if you ask most people, what kind of Bible do you want? The most common answer is, I want one that's literal. Well, the problem is, if you look up the word literal in Webster's, literal has to do with meaning. It doesn't have to do with form. And a lot of people who are saying, well, I want a literal Bible, they're thinking word for word. If the Greek has 7 words, I want 7 words in English, that kind of stuff. But literal actually means to say exactly the same thing in terms of meaning. And so translation is more like the NIV and the NLT. Spend a little more time on trying to convey the same meaning. They want the text to impact the modern reader in the same way that it did the ancient reader. But let me give you an example. It's the end, I believe, of Romans.